Welcome back to Wyandot Lake and episode 13 of our Planet Coaster 2 water park. We've got a ton of stuff to do today, from backstage to continuing work on our wave pool to building a massive slide complex. So let's get into it. We're going to start today working on the actual boardwalk section, or rather underneath the boardwalk section. I'm a big fan of how Disney does the utilidors with everything underneath, kind of how the physical park itself. And so this is kind of one of those things where we wanted to have the elevated boardwalk, because when you think of boardwalks, you think about they're elevated, right? And you have the water underneath, but there's a gap. It's not flat. And so I knew when designing this area out that it was important to the park not to have this flat, not to have this at grade with everything else. And so that is why we raised it. And what it did is it gave us an opportunity to kind of mimic that Disney utilidor a little bit. And so that's what we've done. And so underneath here, we are going to have a bunch of things. Primarily, though, it is going to be what you just saw, which is going to be that bathroom and that dryer. But we're putting this door in right here. And what this door is going to lead to is underneath here, this is going to be all of our utilities for the wave pool. I don't think we are going to have electric in here. I cannot remember. It's been a while since I recorded this, but I don't think we had electric in here. I think it is literally going to just be water. And then we are going to also put some more water pumps in there as well, which we'll get to in a little bit. But while we're on our way to that, I want to talk a little bit about kind of what I do when I'm building the game, which is I spend a lot of time generally on my desk. I've got an elevated monitor that I'm playing the game on, and then generally I have my iPad going. And so a lot of times I will watch other content creators, other YouTubers, while I'm playing the game, and just looking for some ideas on who some of those good content creators are. And before I kind of talk about who I do, that little wave wall, we're going to come back to that later, but it looks really cool. It's something where there's waves coming off of it, and so I think having the waves there really matches up well. You can see we're putting in the wave pool machines now, and then we end up changing the color to make it a little more of a sky blue and a little more of a water blue at the bottom and then at the top, which really does a really great job matching up. The whole idea is trying to kind of make it blend in and feel kind of natural. Obviously, you're not going to get it super natural looking, but as much as we kind of possibly could there under the circumstances. And I end up actually being very happy. And you can see we're putting that pump underneath there now, which will serve our smaller pool, which I don't think I have a name or anything for. So if anyone has any ideas to kind of what to name that, let me know. But as of right now, that's just kind of like a little pool. I can't remember if I want to make it an adult pool or whatnot, but that is what it is right now. And so it does look like we did put electric under there as well. So we have electric capabilities on top of water capabilities as well over here. But back to kind of the content creators that I watch kind of while playing the game. I'm at a point right now where I have officially caught up on building the videos, right, and editing the videos. I had when I started posting these 2 weeks ago, we've posted every single day, I had 20 videos worth of content recorded. I am at a point where I have finished editing all those videos. I have written scripts for all of those videos, and I've got about 3 hours left of actually recording those videos. Once that is done, I can get back into the game itself and building with the game itself, and I have to tell you, I am so excited. I've done a lot of sketching over the last few days for the areas I'm working on right now, which is the third themed area, but also the lazy river we've talked about before. That's going to kind of encompass the center of the park, and I'm super excited to kind of dive back in. But what I do when I'm playing the game is on my iPad, which will sit underneath my monitor, I'll watch different content creators and whatnot while I am building, and I am at a point where I watch primarily 3 different channels. I watch Geekism, I watch Beyond Drew TV, and I watch Channel 5 Gaming's Park Spotlight series, but I also need more channels to watch. And so, if you haven't watched any of those channels, I highly encourage you to watch them. Beyond Drew TV has his Grand States America, is what I think it's called. That's the series he's working on right now, which is super cool. He started a park that was designed as if it was, I think, in the 1970s, and he's kind of following it through year to year, decade to decade, and building the park. And I think 80s or 90s now is maybe where it's at. And it's really cool just to kind of see the evolution of the park and the way he works and everything. Geekism was probably the first water park content I got with Planet Coaster 2 with his Planquatica Park, which is a really cool small park. But he is also working on a Saving Storybook series, which is I think what he's actually primarily working on now. I have not watched any of it yet, waiting to kind of get back in and kind of keep working on the game to see it, but super great. And then, of course, if you haven't seen Channel 5's Park Spotlight series for Planet Coaster 1, just super cool to see what people can kind of come up with and people can build. But also, I've not watched any of his Planet Coaster 2 stuff yet, but I'm super excited to kind of see that because he does great jobs with that. You will also see a shift coming around episode 18 or 19. One of the things I've noticed from these different channels is they very much focus on one thing at a time. And I think if you've watched more than one of our videos, or even if you've watched a video beyond 10 minutes into the video, you'll see we spend a lot of time kind of jumping around left or right. I do start doing a better job at kind of sitting in and just building one thing and working on one project at a time. And so you'll start to see that kind of around episode 18 or 19 or so, which should be a great change. Let me know if you have any other channels or anything that you guys watch that are good to kind of have on in the background while I build. Each one of these videos is about 3 hours worth of recording time, and so there's a ton of time that I have and would love to see what everyone else is able to come up with. So let me know in the comments, and super excited to see that. And if there's anything that's non-Planet Coaster 2 as well, let me know. There's a lot of really great content on YouTube or even on just a regular streaming service that I can have on in the background. If you've not seen it already, Jet Lag the Game. Cannot recommend it enough. Might not just be the best show on YouTube right now, but quite possibly the best show in general right now. Probably not a show to watch while doing something else because it is going to capture your attention. Great show. They do a great job with that, so shout out to those guys. So right now what we're working on is we're putting this netting in between the pools. And we've got a little water pump house down there with a little path. And the reason I did this is I didn't want people to be able to just climb out of this pool and jump into the wave pool. Especially with the pump here, it was a safety hazard. It also just adds a little bit of decoration, a little bit of feel, a little bit of, I don't want to say vibe, but a little bit of vibe to the area. Looking at it now, though, I'm not sure how exactly I feel about it. It is one of those things where I do think we could come in later and expand here. When you think of a boardwalk, you don't really necessarily have this netting underneath, right? The water flows underneath the boardwalk. And with the game having recently updated with the height limits in terms of how high a path has to be over water, with it being much lower now, we can get some water underneath there. And so I've gone ahead and added to our list, and our list is well over 10 things now in terms of kind of capital projects for expansion. But I've added onto the list possibly connecting these. So you have kind of a little chill pool area over here, and then you've got the wave pool over on the other side. So that's something that we might come back to in the future as we kind of look to expand this area possibly, but that is well down the road. The thing I do want to talk about right now is this area where we just added all this wood. So this is, I'm calling it right now, the wave pool balcony. And I think it's a really cool area. I think it has a lot of potential. But right now, I really just don't know what to put up here. I am thinking right now it's kind of just like a little, not, I don't want to say landscape, little plaza almost that can kind of, maybe be rented out for private events or something like that. There's not really any QSR areas over here that we could have seating for. Maybe we put in some QSR locations over here. Maybe we put in a store of some sort over here. I don't know that an attraction really works because we have this slide here that we're starting on. But if you have any ideas for what we can put there, let me know. We're going to end up just leaving it roped off when we open the park. And we can address it later, but let me know. But right now what we're doing is we are going to build a big slide complex. And this actually ends up being one of our marquee slide complexes for the park. And I'll get into that later. We're going to have a few marquee slide complexes. Obviously, every area is going to have at least one slide complex. But this is going to be kind of one of our marquee ones. And we try to do, I think they're called the toilet bowls. I think the actual name for them. It didn't end up working. They were too big. Don't worry, though. We are going to get the big toilet bowl slides into it. We did have to build around that tree there. I didn't know the solution to this at the time. That tree is in park boundaries but was locked. I ended up figuring out the solution to that. I don't know if it's still glitched or not. If it is, use the multi-select to select it, advanced move it over well into play, and then you can delete it from there. But didn't know that was a thing at the time, so we had to build around it. But this is going to be 3 raft-based slides, just like with Whispering Waters over in Lakeside. I don't know if it's going to work with the new slide physics, but we will adjust as we go if needed and kind of deal with that when it comes to opening the park. I do need to go back in. I was watching this as I was working on kind of what I want to talk about in this episode, and it dawned on me these are all 3 raft slides, which we don't have any raft slides in the game yet, right? We want to make sure we have them. But the problem is we never built a conveyor belt to transport the rafts back to the top of the slide. This is something that I need to do a little bit of a better job with, and that is including kind of that realism of kind of where tubes sit and everything, although I think this is the first tube slide that we have built. But we are going to need to go back and do that. Obviously, they will be non-functional. We might be able to do something with the moving platforms in the game, but I'm not planning on that as of right now. But if you have any ideas as to how to build those, if there's any videos that anyone's put out on how to do those, or there's really good things on the workshop that I can kind of pull and duplicate, let me know below. I haven't done any looking into it yet. That is something that I'll do later on as we kind of do the cleanup episode before we open the park. But let me know if you know of anything, because definitely something that needs to come back and be added into this area. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a minute here and talk about the location of the slide, because the location of the slide, as you can see, is the very back of the park, which is the very west or eastern end of the park, I should say. Sorry, I almost said western. It's the eastern end of the park, and it's intentional that I put the slide in the back of the park, because this is going to be, as of the slides we built so far, this is going to be the marquee slide. So why did we put the marquee slide in the back of the park? It was very intentional. And the reason is because you don't want your marquee attractions to be at the very front of the park. The reason being is 2 primary reasons. First, your marquee attraction is going to be the most popular ride in the park. If you put it in the very front of the park, your wait times are going to be astronomically higher than if you put it in the back of the park. The reason being, people will naturally show up to the park and want to ride the first thing they see. And if the first thing they see is the most popular ride in the park, then what's going to happen is you're going to have everyone that wants to ride it because of how great of an attraction it is trying to ride it, on top of everyone that just got to the park trying to ride it. And so it's going to expand your wait times. By being in the back of the park, what it does, and this is the second reason why it's in the back of the park, is it increases ridership on lower prestige attractions, because people are going to ride the marquee attraction. They're going to work their way back here, but they're also now going to have to pass your lower priority attractions, right? Your lower value attractions. and they're going to ride those as they work their way to the back of the park, right? Some people will go straight here, but a lot of people are going to kind of follow that natural evolution of path from start to finish, and where they're going to start at the front and they're going to work back. And so they're going to ride more rides as they go back to get here, which is going to help spread out your lines. And the second one is in-park revenue is king for the theme park industry, right? That is why you see a lot of parks now selling their passes really low, because they want you to spend money within the park. And so by having your marquee attraction that everyone is going to ride in the back of the park, they now have to walk past all of these, quick service restaurant, retail, and other IPR style locations twice. Once to get back, once to come back, which is going to increase the likelihood that they're going to buy items, increasing that IPR. And so speaking of IPR, we are working on an IPR location right now, which is going to be a QSR, quick service restaurant location. We're going to come back and finish this up later. When I built this, I wasn't quite sure what the vibe of this area was going to be, but it is a really important area. One of the things that you're going to start seeing more as we kind of go on and design the park and kind of evolve with the different areas is the intentionality of designs, and having that QSR location there. And I know we're not working on it right now, but we're going to talk about it for just a little bit more here, and this is where we kind of get more forward and we kind of focus on projects more. It'll hopefully be a little easier, but this is a very intentional location because this is going to be a high traffic area. What we have here is we have right there, you can kind of see in the bottom left corner there, we have this staircase that goes up to kind of that boardwalk with an entrance to our marquee attraction. We have just to the right here, you see the little slides there, we have the exit pool. So people are going to come down those slides and get out. We have a pathway here that leads from the exit of our marquee attraction back into the themed area. And we have the entrance from the themed area and going up to the boardwalk and kind of connecting to the midway that people are going to kind of walk through. We also have bathrooms over here, so that's going to increase foot traffic over here as well. All this to say, this is going to be a really busy intersection, and so that is why we put a QSR in, because it's a busy area, and so you're going to have a lot of foot traffic, so a lot of people there, which should make those some of our higher revenue locations when you exclude kind of our main areas, right? So when I think you look at kind of areas that are going to just be in transitional places, right? They're not necessarily the central part of a themed area, but kind of looking at our kind of transitioning areas, that should probably be one of our higher revenue areas, would be my guess. Right now, one thing with it is we do not have a seating area with it. I feel like looking back at it, every QSR location should have some seating nearby, especially if it serves food. The only exception to that, maybe for handheld foods like corn dogs or popcorn, maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, what I don't know is if this is the case in real life. I'm going to have to go in, do some research, see if it is, and maybe adapt kind of how we build things, design things moving forward, if that is. So, now that we're kind of caught up on that, where are we in terms of building things? We're putting in these gates right now. We want to make sure that our back areas are hidden, right? We want to make sure that it's hidden, and then we're going to put in this pathway here. I forget who it is, but there was a video I saw not too long ago where they had buoys at kind of the bottom. I think they had a big pool that had slides, and then they also had a swimming area. They had buoys kind of designing it, and obviously they don't do anything within the game now, but what we're doing is we're going to make sure that every slide has a designated exit area. And so you saw us putting them in there before we did the lifeguard stand and whatnot, but that is something we want to make sure we put in. It'd be super cool if we got actual buoys and we can kind of use them as barriers within the pools. We'll see if maybe they come out with it. I know update 6 is coming out on Monday, which super excited for that, especially now that we know that. And they're going to take a couple months off. When they come back, maybe that's something we get with it. We've got one last project that we are going to work on here. and that is our wave pool seating area. And something that I have done kind of consistently without, you can see it back in the lakeside area of the park, and you're going to see it again here, is we essentially kind of build seating blocks. And the reason for this is it helps us kind of divide it up, and we'll do something with the look here, which will help with it as well. But what it does is it should help with our guest flow and our ease of access, getting to the chairs, both getting out of the water as well as coming into this area. Right, if you have just super long rows, it doesn't work super great and whatnot. But really liked how that went. We went with kind of a beach vibe, which is kind of what we wanted to see. So that kind of like you're sitting on the ocean. You know, we're going to put in some umbrellas here in a second. Just kind of really like that. But what we are going to do real quick here is we're going to divide this into entrances. So that right now is just kind of a free-for-all kind of walking in. But we're gonna because we have the sand texture and that's you can walk on it kind of I guess it's a barrierless what they would do, but kind of like a natural feel. We're going to go ahead and put in these little kind of, you see them at the bottom there, these little areas. And with curbs being gone now, I'm going to have to actually go back in and kind of get rid of those because you can kind of see them a little bit. But we're going to kind of surround this and kind of enclose it, right? And you see a little more of it here. We're going to put in these planters here, which eventually will come back in and put some foliage to kind of really decorate the area. And this is our south border of the park, and so we'll make sure that everything beyond here is hidden and secure. But this wave pool is really an attraction in and of itself, and you can see us putting in kind of the beach style umbrellas here. But this wave pool is really is an attraction within itself. And so originally I had designed it where it kind of just opened up to the beach. And, you know, you walk to the beach, you get in the ocean and whatnot. But with it being the wave pool, I wanted to divide it up a little bit more. And so by putting these barriers in, and you can see us starting to work on it now, what we're going to do is we're going to put in kind of this fencing barrier. And it's really going to help make it feel like that unique attraction, rather than just another pool like what you see on the other side of the boardwalk over there. We do not have a name for it right now. I am thinking of naming it High Tide and going in and adding some signage to really kind of finish giving it that kind of unique feel and make it feel like it is an attraction in and of itself, because at the end of the day, the water slides are not the only attractions. The pools are attractions as well. And sometimes you can have your generic pool, but sometimes your pool's going to be, you know, that is your so-called capital investment for the year. And that is kind of the idea is here. This is one of the capital investments of the park. So might go do that. Let me know what you think of the name High Tide. If you think we should change it, if you think it works, but let me know. I will say I do wish that you could attach the wave pools to a timer. I think that would be something that is super cool, so that every few minutes you could have bigger waves or whatnot. I think growing up, the wave pools I would go to was like every 30 minutes or so. You'd have really big waves for about a minute, and then the next 30 minutes would be kind of smaller waves. It'd be super cool if we could do something like that. We did put in those fences. We're going to eventually put some rocks into them, which will kind of serve as a break wall, kind of, that idea of, oh my gosh, there's a big storm coming in. You can see we're doing it now. There's a big storm coming in, right? And these are going to be the break wall that's going to kind of help protect the buildings and, the land from, a high tide, a high surf coming in and causing damage over the roadway, which is really cool. We did it a second ago, but we did go ahead and kind of change the colors of our chairs. They're kind of a pastel color. I'm not sure how I feel about it, although I will say fading is something that we have to pay a ton of attention to, because there's a lot of sun over here, and I actually think the pastel colors will work really well, because I think pastel colors in general are a little less susceptible to fading. But we ended up going with kind of a sunset look. Kind of, the sun is setting, and this is kind of the color palette that would be in there with that. So, speaking of storms, we have had some really bad storms where I live the past few days. We've had the massive heat wave if you're in the United States, especially kind of maybe the Midwest, East Coast region. I'm sure you've been dealing with it as well, but we've had some bad storms as a result of that, and it's gotten me thinking where I think we might need to actually add in some more covered or storm shelter areas. So if anyone knows any places where we could put those, let me know. Right now I don't really have any ideas. I don't want to get rid of maybe some of our expansion areas, but it's possible maybe we come back in and we fortify some areas, maybe like the picnic shelter. It's also an area where when update 6, I keep saying episode 6, I mean to say update 6. When update 6 drops on Monday, maybe we do need to build some more storage, because I think it's easy to say, oh, it's a money grab having storage your storm shelters, but it's a really easy way to kind of double up a building, and they're solid buildings, and so they're safe. And the QSRs don't really work because while they're safe in a pinch, if there was a major storm event, they don't really provide that in terms of just lightning in the area like a store would. So if you have any ideas kind of what we could do with storm shelters, double up, let me know. But tomorrow is going to be a much shorter episode. It's only around 10 minutes long or so. Despite that, we are going to get a ton of done. We're going to wrap up the fencing on the boardwalk, which was a little difficult, but like how it came down. And we're going to build out our planters that you see between our street and our kind of main buildings here. That's all I've got for today, though. So if you've not liked and subscribed yet, and you've watched a few of our videos, please go ahead, take a second to do that, and comment on what you think of the name High Tide and how we can incorporate these recent updates into these areas, and we will see you tomorrow.